Outrage today, if you thought the digital ID news was bad, now they want to tax what you eat. Yes, you heard that right. They're coming after your dinner plate now. They've taxed your fuel, your work, your home. Now it's looking like your food. And no, this isn't a joke. They're seriously talking about taxing what you eat. And if you think they're going to stop there, you haven't been paying attention. But before we talk about that, you may have seen some of these leaks during the week. This has just come out today. A taxi tax will only hurt the vulnerable. They say Labour has well and truly lost the plot. So what are they talking about here? Well, they're now looking to impose a tax. So this will be 20% on all taxi or Uber or whatever you take journeys. This is getting out of hand. And you think the devastating blow that hospitality got last year by the budget, this is going to hit it even hard. In fact, when they changed the national insurance contributions, in the 9 months that followed, the industry lost 89,000 jobs. That's not a typo, 89,000 jobs. And that was half of all job losses right across the country, just from one single sector. So what do you think is going to happen when they add this new tax on top of taxi journeys, Uber journeys? Before I even get carried away with all of this, I want to talk about this leaked document, this leaked report that has come out. And this was really shocking to me. Okay, so are you ready for some of the suggestions? I'm not saying these are going to happen, okay? But are you ready for some of the suggestions that Labour has sort of put forth at this roundtable meeting they held? Okay, here's number one then. A takeaway packaging levy. This is a charge on disposable containers and coffee cups presented as an environmental measure to stop people from too much wastage. This is ridiculous. It also says that certain cities are becoming quite, people are throwing litter, the British are throwing their litter all over the streets, which is something I've covered in my videos. Yeah, I would argue that it's maybe not your typical British people that are doing that. So adding this new levy onto people that buy coffees and takeaways and things, I don't think they just throw them on the street anyway, to be honest. Here's another one. Are you wealthy enough to own a driveway? Well, if you are, and you had to pave over a garden at some point, or a piece of grass to do that, then you could be hit with an annual fee, which is known as the driveway drainage fee. So have you contributed to climate change in your area, in your property? Because if you have, there may be a tax for that. Do you have fast broadband? Because if you do, you could have a premium on that broadband, on that high speed fiber versus poorer people who have low speeds. This is a socialist sort of program, I would call it, where they want to redistribute. So by taxing people who can afford faster broadband, they can then pay for people in impoverished areas, heavily migrant areas they talk about as well, to level them up. It actually says in black and white to level up so they can get better access to education, not just in the colleges, but also at home on the internet. So you'll be paying for that. But this was the one that I think is going to annoy a lot of you. Like me, do you enjoy a Sunday roast or a carvery on a Sunday lunchtime? That is my favorite meal of the week. Well, there could be a duty now on large cuts of beef, lamb, and pork, reflecting their carbon footprint. Yes, and this will also, it won't just be on the table, but it could be passed on to farmers as well. The farmers are going to flip if this passes. I mean, they will go crazy. Are you wealthy enough to be able to afford streaming software, streaming platform? If you are, then there could be additional fees for you. And no, this is not a joke. They talk about the BBC and how their funding is being cut. So they're looking to, one idea is to add a tax onto the streaming platforms so that they can contribute to the BBC. This is crazy. And then there's all these other ones. I'm only giving you the crazy ones. There was loads here, but there's one about a garden shed. If you own a garden shed, you're considered more wealthy. They're looking at this as an outbuilding. Yes, they said we should look at garden sheds as outbuildings and over a certain size, and link this to land use monitoring. What about commuting? Do you commute during peak hour? If you do, it means that you are a wealthy person in the UK because you have a 9-to-5 job. This is getting crazy. So they're talking about higher taxation on rush hour travel tickets so that this can be passed on to people who cannot afford, who don't have these good jobs, help with their travel. And then it gets really ridiculous. There's all sorts of other ridiculous here. While Treasury officials stress that these remain illustrative options rather than confirmed policy, the leak has raised eyebrows across Whitehall. Analysts noted the paper appears consistent with the government's wider efforts to identify low visibility revenue streams that avoid direct rises in the tax rates. However, one senior civil servant, speaking on condition of anonymity, said, "The principle is to test public tolerance for micro-taxation in areas where behavioural change can be justified on environmental or social grounds." Another person said these ideas risk eroding trust if they are perceived as opportunistic rather than strategic. The Treasury declined to comment on the specifics of the leak, reiterating only that all options remain under review as part of the fiscal planning process. Now, I don't know about you, but this is really scary. I mean, as if it wasn't bad enough in the UK, this is getting worse. And I've said many times before, it's really important that you know how to protect your finances. Now, whether you learn that through me and my programs, my courses, whether you learn it through being on my email list where I put out an email every Friday teaching you all of this stuff and teaching you how to protect your finances, talking about investments and the news and everything else, it doesn't matter. But it's important that you do take some actions. They are coming for everything. It's very clear. They are looking to tax. I mean, there's so many more articles I could show you here, but they are going for tax like crazy. And that's why we're seeing this huge exodus of wealth. And you'll know what my recommendation has been for the last 6 months. It has been gold and silver. I don't need to show you the charts. You've seen them for yourself. I'm sure some of you are kicking yourself or regretting not getting into these when I mentioned it. I don't necessarily think you're too late. I think there's always a place for gold and silver in anyone's portfolio. But yes, the prices have absolutely exploded. They have exploded in the last 6 months. And that's why I created this program for you. Now, I know you've seen this a lot and you're probably thinking, okay, I've seen you talk about this. Ladies and gents, today is the final day for the offer on this program. Then it will go to full price on the bundle. So this is your last chance. You'll see the link below in the description to get your hands on the gold and silver programs. These are big programs, but they'll teach you how to protect your pension, how to protect your savings, how to invest properly, how to not get scammed. This will teach you how to trade if you're that advanced. It will teach you everything you want to know about gold or silver. So this really is your last chance to get in on that program. I already closed the offer to the email list and everything else over the weekend here. So today, for social media, this is your last opportunity to get 91% off that program. So the link is below in the description, and then it goes up to full price, which is quite eye-watering. So I'd grab it now while you can. And when I say they're coming after everything, I mean it. Look at this one. It's time for pensioners to start paying their way. Britain's wealthiest cohort should be the prime target for tax rises, not our workforce. This is socialist in nature. Because you think if you're a pensioner or you're close to pension age, it's not as if you are stealing, the way they're saying it, from the working people. No, you paid into your pension, into the system for your entire life. that is the facts. And they even have this lovely graph to show you where the majority of wealth is held and why they should go after these three sectors here, or predominantly these two sectors, 65 to 74, 75 and over. And a lot of things they say in this report don't make sense anyway, about, well, they're not spending the money anyway, so we can use that money and all this other stuff. Oh, we need to pay down the debt and everything like that. Yes, I get that. But look, we live in a democratic, capitalistic society. We don't live in a socialist or a communist society, although that is on the rise big time now. If you look at the polls, people are sympathetic towards both socialism quite highly now and communism. That's why you're seeing what you're seeing in New York with a new mayor. And just look at all of these articles. They are telling you to your face that they lied to you. Rachel Reeves confirms she no longer stands by pledge to not raise taxes. Okay, she's saying now that the world's changed and that she does need to raise taxes. But on top of that, we had this opinion piece that came out the other day, which said exactly what I've been saying for years. The population growth is unsustainable. And I want to just read a point out here for you. The latest figures that came out from the ONS, which is the Office for National Statistics, show that the population of England and Wales grew by 707,000 people between 2023 and 2024. This was the second largest increase in over 75 years. And I went even deeper to look at the figures here. Only 30,000 of this increase was from births. You know what the rest was? It was immigration. The report also spelled out some negative things, especially for the Labour Party, saying that some of their policies were deliberately targeted towards migrants over the British public. That is morally wrong because they don't serve the people coming into the country, they serve the people of the country, the citizens. So as always, you can't trust these politicians. They will lie to get your vote, tell you all the stuff they're going to do, and then they just do the complete opposite. We're not going to raise your taxes. They put massive taxes on. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. We're going to stop the boats. They haven't done any of this. We are much worse off now under Labour than we were under the Conservatives. And that's saying something because that was not a good government either. The UK is in big trouble, and I urge you, please, my friends, protect your money. However you do it, whether it's with my gold and silver course or any of my other courses that I've got, or you just do it in your own way. But please, you've got to be really careful here. Protect your money because the government is coming after every penny they can. It's inevitable now. This is a collapse. It's a slow motion collapse over a long period of time, but it is a collapse. They are in a debt spiral. They can't get out of it. And the wealthy people are leaving. So thank you so much for watching and being a subscriber here. Take care. God bless. See you next time.